using the sat nav plugged into my ear, and fortunately the phone gave out at about Guildford. Right, hello everybody. Yes, the day has arrived as promised, where I said I do a proper look around this new bike. Probably the best bike in the world. I actually said that because, as you know, I'd already said that once. It was when I was in India that I rated the Classic 350 incredibly highly. Obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but you know, really, when you think about bikes like these, you know, they're sort of they're every man's bike, or every person's bike, but they're just all things to all people, aren't they? Sometimes bikes like this. But I thought we'd first go and have a proper look at the bike. So I'm going to head up to the church. Hopefully that'll be quiet, so we can have a proper look around the bike and you can see what I've actually bought, and we can have a chat about what I'm actually going to do with it. But we'll also do a little bit of riding and give you an idea of how the bike rolls and rides and just feels generally, really. So let's head off to the church and I will see you in a sec. Right, here we are back at the church. Will we have a free run? Will the car park be empty? Yeah, a few walkers here, but not too many. Oh, lovely, look at that. Right, so here we are. Here it is in all its glory. Beautiful day today. It's hot. God, I need to take this off in a minute. But yeah, so here it is, the Classic 350, the one you saw me riding back from Flitwick, which I called Flitwick, last week on that freezing it was such a cold day. I really couldn't feel my feet afterwards. I had to stop 15 minutes from home just to try and recuperate. After it was about 110 miles, I think actually I did in the end, because I went all around the houses, didn't do any motorway, just came back on the small roads, using the sat nav plugged into my ear, and fortunately the phone gave out at about Guildford, so I knew where I was at that point. So here it is. So just to give you that story again, so I saw this bike on eBay about 2 weeks ago, and was drawn to it, one, because it was really good price. At that point it was priced at 2,800, and obviously you look at descriptions, well, why is it that cheap? Because it is cheap. It was certainly the cheapest Classic 350 on the market at the time, so in roadworthy condition, and it was a Cat S, I think, or Cat N, Cat S, which is the lowest category of write-off, and that was to do with someone had tried to steal it and they'd, you know, rammed a screwdriver into the key lock or whatever it was, and damaged the rear seat. I think trying to get it off to maybe get to the wiring. Probably didn't know what they were doing. So the chap bought it from Jamie. I must go say thanks, Jamie, because he really looked after me when I put his bike up. He'd filled it up, checked the oil, tyres, all that sort of thing, so I didn't have to worry about it. I could get on it and go. So thanks, Jamie. So he did the work on it. He buys bikes like that in general, odds and sods, to do up and sells them on. So the bike was originally at 2.8, and then I kept watching it and it had gone down to 2.6. So I thought, right, I need to phone this guy up. So I phoned him up, had a great chat, and once I knew what the issue was with the bike, and I said, well, I'll give you 2,500 for it. So, you know, once again, thanks, Jamie. He took 2.5 grand. And the deal was done. So I put the deposit on it on the Monday, but funny enough, it turned up on Freddie Dobbs' Tuesday at Dobbs on the Tuesday. Anyway, but I'd already sort of reserved it at that point. So I went up on the Friday on the train and grabbed it, and had an extremely pleasurable ride home on this. Fortunately, I could get there in the daylight, because originally I was going to have to go up at sort of 5 o'clock, and then I'd have been riding home in the dark, and that would have just been a nightmare. So I managed to drive it back in the daylight and got home just as the daylight was finishing. So this is it. This is the bike, and I have to say it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I know I'm going to cut to some riding in a minute to show you what it's like to ride, but as a piece of kit, I'm just blown away by it, and really, really thankful to get this bike. Let's have a look around it, and I'll show you, pick out the bits, one of the reasons why I really liked it and why I wanted to buy this bike in particular. Let's have a look. So let's have a look around and sort of pick up the points that really drew me to this bike, apart from the price, obviously. Well, it had the Enfield. I think these are actual Enfield bars. They're not the sort of copies you can buy. Hard to tell, but you know, these are really nice quality, nice welds on here, and they obviously fit to the suspension bracket, the rear peg bracket, and also the mudguard mount, if you like. I remember this from the Indian bike and thought that was only on the Indian bikes, but it's all part of it, because on the other side you have the sari guard, not on this one but on the one in India. So that's great, so that saved me buying that. And then we got, which is an Enfield part, the rear rack, which makes me think that this is probably Enfield as well. So, you know, these are not hugely expensive from Enfield, but you know you're getting a good quality one. I always find it quite interesting that the load limit's 3 kilos. That's like a couple of bags of sugar. It's not very good, is it? So, but yeah, that'll take a bit more than that. But this is going to do the sort of heavy lifting for me when I put the panniers on. As far as I could tell, there was nothing else which isn't standard on this bike. You know, everything seems as it should be, really. All the paint was nice. It certainly hadn't been dropped. It also had its first service and the tappet's done, or the valve clearance is done. So it's not ticky at all, this engine. It's really, really good. And as you can see, it came from Groombridges, which was my original dealer down in Sussex, or East Sussex, which is now at Sykes Harley. So they moved into there, which is really cool. It had the rear seat, which was damaged, and that was replaced. The only thing I did notice, it's got these tiny little nicks on here. I think they're just, if you're wearing certain clothing with studs on, like jeans and studs, you'll start tearing that. But I've thought about putting the touring seat on this. But apart from that, she's all good. No corrosion anywhere, nothing that I could see that was staring out at me. Obviously the centre stand we always get with these. But I like black wheels. I like having the wheels black. My Triumph's like this, and the Interceptor, but I like black wheels rather than chrome for some reason. I like the all blacked out engine. It's just good look. This has the it's like a raised lettering on here, which is quite nice. They do several. They do the badge and the rest of it, but I think this is a nice way of doing it with this colourway, is putting that raised lettering on it. So it's really cool. And then you've got the knee pads on there. So overall, a very clean looking bike. Also, we've got the normal dash. Especially on there, I had no warning lights on here on the ride back, which is good. And we got 3,688 miles, and I'm still on that tank that was full when I left Flitwick. So it's still going. So I don't know how many miles to the gallon that's done. It's pretty impressive, to say the least. Right, let's go and have a little ride, and so you can hear the engine and stuff like that. Not a major ride, you know what these bikes are like. But it's going to have a little ride round, and then I'll come back and then we'll talk about what I'm actually going to do with this bike, what the idea behind it was. Full of ideas. Let's go and have a ride, come on. So how does the bike actually run? Well, to be honest with you, absolutely amazing. I've ridden quite a few J-Series engine bikes, and as you know, we still have the Hunter, which is a J-Series. But I think it's amazing how different the tuning is on both bikes, and possibly the gearing, I suppose, that they feel so utterly different, you know, to ride, and just the general feel of the engine, because they are so different. And that's a real clever trick, I think, that Enfield have pulled off there. But in terms of what's my experience with this one, the engine and the gearbox on this one compared to the other JCs I've tried, certainly the engine feels a bit more torquey. So I am going to, I will check and just see if the DNA filter's been put on this. It may not be that at all. You know, you can have 1,000 bikes that come off from production live that all look the same, and they all feel different slightly. And you always get that one slightly better one. It's like being at the go-kart racetrack, isn't it? All the go-karts are the same, but there's one that's just a bit faster. Well, that's what you keep telling yourself, isn't it? That's why you're not as fast as the other person on it. But yeah, it does feel really, really peppy, this engine, and incredibly smooth. It's not knocky at all, and it just runs really lovely. And the gearbox, in particular, I mean, I like Enfield gearboxes. I've never had a problem with an Enfield gearbox, and this is no exception. This is really, really smooth. It doesn't have. When I did the ride into in India, you said China there, that had the heel toe gear shifter on it, and I wasn't sure whether that was standard on these, but it's not. Well, it's not on this bike anyway. It may be standard on the Signal. Someone could probably tell me that. This just has the gear shifter on the front, but it's the gearbox is silky smooth on this, and you know, when you think you've bought a little diamond in the rough, and not that this was any rough at all, because you now know the price I paid for it was £2,500. It's just fab. It's just fab. The gearbox is really slick. No false neutrals, goes into neutral easily. The one thing I will say about it is that the brake pedal, I think, is a little bit too far back. I can't remember what that Indian one was like, but you feel that you might sort of start laying on the brake a little bit without realising it. You'll just end up with loads of smoke coming out the back from the brake pad. But the boots I've got on actually are pretty big, so that might not be helping. But it's quite a big pad, isn't it, on the brake pedal on these. Comfort wise, the bike is comfortable, the seat's fine. I have already looked at touring seats and stuff, now knowing what I'm going to be doing with the bike, but the 100 or so miles that I did on it back from Flitwick, or Fitwick as it's supposed to be called, I wasn't uncomfortable at all, apart from the shocking cold. And more importantly, I didn't get any cramp in my hip, which is always the death knell for me with bikes. If you start getting cramp in your hip, you know that the bike's not right for you. The actual position isn't good, and doing long mileage just won't help at all. So everything else wise, you know, she just feels fine. She feels fine. And when I said about you know, running in bikes, I think it can make a difference. If you're really religious about running in your bikes, I think maybe you do reap the benefits later on, and that may have been the case with this one. That's not scientific at all, just an idea. But yeah, she just pulls lovely, absolutely lovely. And as with all these bikes, you know, 50-55 is a really happy speed for these bikes. Hence the idea of the touring later in the year. So you're going to say, what's the plan, Paul? Why on earth have you bought this bike? Well, this lovely bike. Well, I had this idea. I had this really great idea. So when I come back from Africa, I don't get back. Well, I actually get back and go back to work and stuff in August. But I thought that on the way down to Africa, when I go back down through France, I'm going to try and pick a really picturesque route to get to the house. I thought, well, that's, you know, it's about 300 or 400 miles, depending which port you go to. I thought, wouldn't it be really interesting to take some people down, do a little guided trip down to France, down to the house, down to Brantôme. You know, people can stay in the house and stay in hotels and at Brantôme, and then, you know, take them out on some trips that I've done down there. Maybe do like a 6 or 7 day tour. Don't worry, I'm not advertising here, but it was just giving an idea. So what I thought was, I don't want to do it on big adventure bikes and take people down like that. I thought, well, let's do it on little bikes, you know, a small ploddy sort of tour. And I thought, well, I'll do a test, I'll do a tryout. So I thought, right, so Karen will come along, Jamie's going to come along on his Bonneville, and a couple of other people expressed an interest. So we thought, right, let's do it as a test. Let's just try it out and see what it's like, you know, going down, maybe taking 2 days to get down and spend a couple of days in Brantôme and round the sites that I know, some really nice chateaus and things we can go and visit. Really nice ride out and come back again. And I thought, well, I could do that on my Bonneville, but the problem with my Bonneville is, as I said before, I get this terrible cramp in my hip, which is not really good. And I thought, what I need is a small bike to do it on. I want to be sort of like almost the slowest bike in the group. So I thought, well, Karen will be on the Hunter, so let's have something to match the Hunter. And when this came up, I thought, bing, light bulb moment. And I thought, well, this will do. You know, it's a relatively cheap investment. Looks great. I know what they're great for touring, slow touring. Brilliant, and it's got the panniers and racks and everything on it, so it's sort of ready to go really. So that's the idea. So in October I'm going to probably do a practice tour, take 3 or 4 people down and find some hotels and that sort of thing, and just see how it works really. And if it does work, then possibly look to offer a tour out to people next year. So watch out for that. But it's going to be more of a, you know, a cost sort of tour. I've looked at tour prices and they're incredibly expensive, and I just thought it'd be nice just to guide people down somewhere, you know, cover my cost, if you like, of the boat and my time a little bit, but do it pretty cheap. And that was the idea really. So it's just another little thing, just to, you know, make a couple of £1 through the year. But that will be the idea, is just to run a tour down to Brantôme and show you the sights around there. So that's the idea with this bike. So it's going to become a tour guide bike, but also a good fun touring bike. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So there you go. That was the idea. We'll see how that works. Right, hope you like the little chat about the Classic 350. It's a new horse in the stable. But I'm going to go off and enjoy the rest of the day, because it's a beautiful day, and get my summer jackets out. So we need to do that. Right, I'll see you again soon. Take care and ride safe.